think we're on. So, Raksa, I'd love for you to start by telling me a little bit about yourself and more specifically when you first considered pursuing design as a career.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say hello to any listeners out there, but hi, I'm Raksa, him, his. Yeah, well, currently I'm a lead experience visual designer at Amtrak Innovation. That's what I do outside of the board. Currently, I'm the AIGA DC president. Um, what got me into design? I knew very young. Actually, inspiration. My dad was my big inspiration. After he retired, he painted a lot, did kind of artsy things at home, and growing up, seeing him, I just thought like, hey, I just want to be like him, and I got into more creative things. So grew up with cartoons and try to draw everything I've watched with my friends and my brothers. And I also want to give props to all the teachers I had growing up because as early as elementary age, they allowed me just to be in the corner and doodle or play with shapes and collage and things like that. And so for so long, my life has just been consumed with me being creative. Um, it wasn't until and for a long time I just thought it was a hobby. And so it wasn't until when I was like a senior in high school, I never heard of art school and until a college advisor told me about it. And so I didn't think that would be a pathway. And so thank you to Miguel for telling me to like go to design school and actually invest in my, I guess, passion for creativity. And it was through those 4 years at the Corcoran GW, well, at the time, was just Corcoran, College of Art and Design. I was taught by just a lot of great instructors and professors and folks, and learning from, everyone in design history and help me define my own, I guess, aesthetic or what I want to do with design. And so um, that's I guess I hope that made sense of like how I got into design from my father to teachers and just all those people that kind of pushed me and reinvested in me. And so I'm really thankful for that. You're on mute.
Sorry. It sounds like you would say that that's your creative origin story, seeing your dad be creative in a organic way, and then eventually realizing that that mindset was possible in a education setting and then in a career.
Yeah, yeah. And I also want to give credit to my older siblings. I have a big brother, big sister who are also very creative as well. Big brother, I remember him having like Photoshop 2.0, designing his high school like volleyball team t-shirts, and my sister had her own creative endeavors. And so I guess um, my dad, my sibling, just being surrounded by creative people just allowed me to be a creative person.
So, and then we talked about your creative origin story. Let's talk about your AIGA origin story. How did you first become part of the AIGA community and then pivot to becoming part of the DC community?
Yeah, how I got involved in AIGA, and it actually goes back to my classroom at the Corcoran. Nathan Hill, he was our sophomore professor, graphic design professor, and I just remember him telling us in class, like, hey, you should get involved with AIGA. They organize events, provide networking opportunities. And honestly, as a student, just heads down on my work, I kind of shrugged it off until one Saturday, like any student who spent their weekend just in the studio, there was an AIJDC portfolio review, and there was an open slot, and I remember the head of graphic design, Francesca, saying, "Hey, you want your portfolio reviewed?" I was like, I guess I could spare my 2 hours away from my homework and things and talk to yeah, local design leaders. And um that was my first involvement with AIGA, just as early like when I was a sophomore, junior in college. And thank you to Nathan Hill. And so uh since that first program or so, I just kept tabs of AIGA DC. And um when graduation was looming on all of us, and where we get a job, I knew I had to go out there and put myself out there and network and things. And I personally don't like the ickiness of networking, but I just knew as a senior that's going to graduate, like I need to give out business card. I need to show people my portfolio, and so AIJ was one of those spaces that I went to a lot of their events and hear talks from all sorts of people in the area and even folks from outside the DC area. And so a bit of fast forward a year or two into my career post college, I saw the call for um, apply for the board. And also another thing about me is all my life, I volunteered at all sorts of places and spaces growing up. My brothers and I, it's kind of, I don't know, it's funny to when I share this, like we would actually find like park clean up and see if they need volunteers, and we would really spend our weekend just cleaning parks and stuff and volunteering with our community in Philadelphia. Um, and I so when I saw this opportunity, I was like, okay, I've always volunteered for the one initiative I have in or community I haven't served is the art and design creative community. And so um, I just applied. I remember just getting the invitation for the interviews, and it was a simple format of like, why do you want to get involved? And I just remember try to give a sappy story of or some sort. It was just like I've always liked volunteering, always enjoyed giving back, and I just want to give back to this community that actually helped me a ton. You know, going back to the how AIGA DC helped me as a student, and I just want to give back. And so 8 years later, here I am, still part of AIGA DC, and believe I've we've done so much great work for this community through all the programs and content we produced.
You have. And tell us about your trajectory on the board. You are finishing up your term as president, but you have a very long tenure on the DC board prior to that. So how did it begin
Oh my.
relative to where it's about to end?
Yeah, I joined the board as a programming coordinator and secretary. Um, yeah, and I think I was just very much more interested in the more event planning space, more people focused space, and so I was happy to be offered that role. Um, I I was surprised to be offered secretary, but happy to be that note taker and giving out reports every meeting. And so I had that role for the first year. I recall my first event was with Deloitte Digital and their product project matching team doing like a Lego workshop, Lego Agile workshop. Um, and a shout out to Rika who made that connection. Rika, past president of ours. And then after that, I became the Emerge chair. And so Emerge was a AIJ national initiative where they asked chapter to designate a board member to do programs focused on young, emerging, and transitioning designers. Um, that was actually my first go with being involved with AIJ National because as part of being uh, edit. Part of this role is also joining a national committee, the National AIJ Merge Committee, and it was a nationwide effort of 26 something chapters who were envisioning and planning what is and defining what is AIJ Emerge, and I became the brand lead for that. Made a lot of great friends across the states that I still stay in touch with. But it was an honor to like define AIJ Emerge and then produce some programs in our city here. I've organized several years of our annual portfolio review for the DC chapter. And so after being the Emerge chair, I became a programming co-director for the next 2 years. Um, and so that was great to go from just like programming a ton and then trying to take all my experience in coaching others and mentoring others of how to create effective and impactful programming. Um, and then it led to me becoming the president. There's some small details in between. It's like I helped out with IDC Design Week a couple years as well, and have several other team members. But that's like an overview of how I did, yeah, my 8 years on the board.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And what is your favorite part of serving on the board?
Um, my favorite part is the execution of a program. Um, I know that for all of our programming people, it takes a lot of time and effort to think of the vision and planning it all out and making sure it's a worthwhile topic discussion and we get ticket sales. But once you see people who bought the ticket and actually show up to the program and the leaders we work with come and show up and give advice and knowledge and whatever they're presenting and seeing just the impact it's making to our community, that's just been very rewarding. Yeah. Um, and so the execution part is great. And also, we get to meet our community face to face. Now that we've been recently doing more in-person programs. And so virtually or in person all these years, I've always enjoyed the execution of our programs because I believe we've had so many great topics over the years and um, brought on so many great talented folks to the stage.
Awesome. So tell us about your current creative impact. What are you working on now, either with AIGA or at your current role? Which creative project is your biggest endeavor at the moment?
Actually have too many creative endeavors. Um, yeah, beside AIGA DC, as mentioned earlier, my day job is at Amtrak Innovation. Um, right now, I'm only a little over a year on this brand new team. Um, we're a we're only a little over a year old, and we're a very small team. We're really trying to think about the future of passenger rail, and really try to help everybody in the business make Amtrak I guess, world-class, premier, advanced, innovative business. Um, I lead the visual design there, where we have our own eternal internal identity, and I help just make a lot of our design artifacts just very polished, and also do design team facilitation with the team as well. And so that's the day job, creative endeavors. I also play music. Um, Before design, I thought I'll be a touring musician. I picked up the guitar when I was 12, 13 years old, and my brother picked up the drums. My other brother was a vocalist, and so we just thought we'll be our own, by the way, triplet, Blink-182, Cambodian Blink-182 from North Philadelphia. Um, but we decided to go a different direction after graduating high school. But I still keep that my music hobby alive. And more of my own personal portfolio or Instagram is my hand-drawn typography. I fell in love with it during college. It's just fun to take letter forms like the American alphabet A to Z and the numbers and just change up the characters and create, really cool composition. And I like to tie my lettering to what is a phrase from music or shows or even just one feeling in a certain season. And so, um, yeah. And honestly, I have many other creative outlets, but I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. And what's something about you that the community and our readers you think would be surprised to learn about you?
I wonder if that the mentioning that I'm a triplet was a surprise. Because that usually is the surprise.
And
Um,
an identical triplet, right?
Uh, Honestly, that has been debatable. I actually like to say fraternal, um, but I won't be surprised. Like first time meeting, yeah, we look very similar, and then I like to say like once you get to know us, you see our differences. But um, I like to surprise people that I'm a identical triplet. I have two brothers, that look similar to me. Um, um, we just it was great to grow up with two guys who are also very driven, ambitious. Um, they're both not in design, unfortunately, but we have our own. Uh, we see creativity differently in our own work.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you, Raksa, for joining us, and thank you for all that you've contributed to AIGA and the DC design community, because there, I think, are few people who have contributed more and as often as you, and we're very lucky to still have you even after you peace out of AIGA.
I'll be around.
Good.
The community knows that you can possibly find me at a lecture or talk or something. Um, but yeah, it's an honor to be part of this board and serving the AIJDC community. But yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you. And
thank you.
And I will stop recording.